I'm joined right now with Dawn Aversa?
Aversa.
Aversa,
yes.
there we go, from Manahawkin. I appreciate you coming and spending some time with me today.
No problem.
And we're here to talk about Elena,
Yes.
who's 2 years old, 2.5.
2.5.
How is she?
She's wonderful. She's great.
Is she a wild, crazy kid?
She was a Spitfire pre-treatment. And I think after going through cancer, she's just taken that and is completely running with it. And she's a Spitfire to the umpteenth degree now.
Well, we'll talk about Elena, her story in a few minutes in Emotion of Love, but you brought some pictures in, and we're going to post these pictures up at the website so people could say, but this picture with Santa Claus is just precious. She's looking at Santa like, what? Like,
yeah,
what's
like,
going on over
really?
here?
I don't know. I'm not so sure about you.
But Santa's giving her the same stink eye too.
Yeah.
So it's like a double stink eye here. This is great. Like, she's like, what? He's like, what? This is awesome.
It's a priceless picture.
And then she has pictures, and she's in treatment, and she's smiling.
Oh my gosh.
She just smiles.
She never lost her smile.
This is why we do this Radiothon, just for the pictures that I'm looking at, and for the kids, whether they're 2 years old or they're 20 years old. This is why we do this.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful young little girl there.
Thank you.
Always smiling.
Always.
And you said you have another daughter too?
Yes. She just turned 7 last month.
Now, Elena is off treatment, thankfully.
She is. We stopped chemo in May, and she had her poured out in the beginning of June.
That's wonderful.
We just finished up her 3-month scans. Her MRI came back clear. We have a biopsy this week, just routine, just to keep checking and make sure everything's good.
Tell me a little about, obviously she's 2.5. When was she diagnosed?
She was diagnosed when she was 19 months old.
Okay.
It was completely by surprise, out of nowhere. She had a pelvic tumor, and she started bleeding in her diaper. And it took us about 3 weeks to get her diagnosed because I thought, a gynecological problem, and those kind of doctors don't exist for pediatrics.
Yeah.
So it was like trying to find a doctor. And finally, my OB saw her before even knowing that it was a child that they had delivered. And they ordered an ultrasound, and they found a mass. They were leaning towards a clot. We went in for a biopsy, and it was July 21st of 2014 that we found out that she had cancer.
And your life has never been the same since?
No. Completely turned upside down.
Now, we were talking off air a little while ago. You're familiar with Ocean of Love. You're
Yes,
familiar with the
course.
Radiothon. You used to listen to this back when we used to do it back at the other radio station.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't say that word.
No.
Now, what was your reaction, obviously, when, with your husband and obviously the shock of hearing that it's cancer?
I think leading up to the actual diagnosis, I kind of thought the word in my head a couple times, but never said it out loud.
Okay.
Hearing that was just, and it's weird. I feel like you think that when your child gets diagnosed with cancer, you expect it to be a movie. Like they're flown to a hospital and rush thing, and there's surgery and this and that, and it's not. We were sent home an hour after the doctor told us. And
that's interesting. That's very interesting you say that, because
it was so surreal.
You just kind of go home like you're going home from a normal doctor's appointment.
And he's like, you're going to go to CHOP, which that's all we knew. You're going to CHOP. We had to wait a couple days for further pathology to come back to find out what type of cancer it was. But that first 5 days after treatment was just like living in a dream world. We're like, we know she has it. What are we doing?
Right,
like,
because if you go home from a doctor and you're sick, they give you some antibiotics.
Right.
They put in a Z-Pack. You go home, you ride it out, and that's it. And you go back to the doctor if you're not feeling good.
Yeah, and I was just kind of sitting there waiting.
Did Ocean of Love come into your head? Did it
No,
dawn on you to call them?
Not
How did
at
that
all.
connection begin?
Not at all. I had, thankfully, I have a great group of friends that just hit the books for me, basically. Like, what can we do to help them out? What are good avenues for them to use and resources? And someone had told me that they had reached out to Ocean of Love, and that because they're a nonprofit organization, they can't reach out to me. I would have to reach out to them. And I called them, and from day one, they've been a second family to us and to Elena.
I'm talking with Dawn Aversa of Manahawk, and she's here to talk about her daughter Elena, who's 2.5 out of treatment, thankfully. But what are some of the things that stand out? We need to raise this money, and we could tell people all day long, raise money for Ocean of Love, but why do we need to raise money for Ocean of Love?
I cannot begin to tell you how many expenses start accruing. We're getting treatment out in Philly. Something as simple as getting reimbursed for our tolls going out there, gas cards going out there, lodging when we had to stay and weren't inpatient but just needed to be out in Philly right there. They take care of all of that for us. And then one of the most special things that they did for our family was on each holiday while she was in treatment, it started with Thanksgiving, they team up with our local fire department and they bring us everything you could possibly need for your holiday meal. And not only is that so welcomed at the time, it became a beautiful thing to look forward to. The fire trucks would show up. My oldest daughter would get really into it and involved. And because Elena was so young, the first time they showed up, she was not happy with the lights and the sounds and everything.
She's like, you guys leave.
Yeah, literally. They were in and out. Like, they were like, okay, we're not going to bother her. She's upset. They dropped the food and went.
It's amazing because when I'm on the Billboard, there's always that one night every year when the fire trucks come to make a big donation. And I would say, like, sometimes it could be 6 or 10 or a dozen fire trucks all show up at the same time. And even as somebody who's in their 40s, I'm still like bright-eyed. I'm like, fire trucks are here. It's the greatest thing.
Yeah, it is. Well, and it was amazing to see, like, as she got older and then got more used to it, because then they came for Christmas again.
Hey, Dover Township firemen, you better show up this year. Don't make me look stupid now. Sorry.
When they came back for Christmas again, and that's when that Santa Claus picture was taken. And then by the time Easter rolled around, she was much closer to being done with treatment. And she was excited to see them. And the weather was warmer, and she ran out of the house to greet them and was on the fire truck. And the firemen, I was so touched by how they reacted, because a lot of these, they're all volunteers. And they, had seen her twice before and seen how, like, shy she was and unsure. And to see her have the type of energy that she had, and that they were in tears, which was it was a beautiful thing. And that wouldn't have happened without Ocean of Love providing those types of donations for our family during. So we ShopRite gift cards for groceries, something as simple as like putting food on the table when I was out of work. My husband at the time was working part-time because trying to balance having another child, and it's a lot.
How would you describe it? I mean, obviously, we talk about what Ocean of Love does, the services they provide, but I know Linda Gillick, she never wants to take the credit, and she talks about her staff, her board members, but
they're the warmest people I've ever met, I think. Between Teresa, she does support groups. She's amazing, and it's support group was one of the best things I did going there while Elena was on treatment, because you have so many different emotions going on in your mind, and some of them you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm an awful person for thinking this or that, and to sit in a room with other women and other families, and to say and to explain how you're feeling, and just to get the nods of understanding is, I can't put into words how necessary that is during this, to have a group of people that knows what you're going through. Maria's our caseworker. She's awesome. She's always calling.
Yeah, she's okay.
In. She's all right. She's all right.
She's all right. We'll keep her around for a little bit.
She's always calling and checking in and just seeing how things are going. And I can talk to her about anything. Like, now that Elena's off treatment, I still get that phone call from her, and just, how are things? How's work going? How's Annalise doing? And obviously she wants to know about Elena and but it's not just, they don't just treat and help the sick child. They focus on you as a family, and you become part of their family.
Why is it so important for people listening to this and they never heard of the Ocean of Love Billboard Radiothon? They're hearing this Radiothon for the first time. They hear us talk about Ocean of Love for the first time. Why is it so important we raise this money for Ocean of Love?
I don't think people realize how prominent childhood cancer is. Prior to my daughter's diagnosis, I had no idea, no concept. And it's not as rare as we think it is. And the families, myself included, we need help getting through it. It's kind of one of those things, like, it takes a village to raise a child. When it's a sick child, you need as much support as you can possibly get. And I had no idea, going to the support groups, there was a mother that I had recognized. She probably knows exactly who I am when she's listening to this, and I don't remember her name. But going for several months, I was like, oh yeah, I like this mother, this, that, whatever. She lives 2 minutes walking distance from my house, and I had no idea. It's becoming more and more well-known, and 2 years ago, if someone had said this would be my life, this would happen to one of my children, I would have said, you're nuts.
Dawn, I appreciate you taking some time to spend some time with me and tell your story.
Absolutely.
If you could do me a favor, when I'm on the Billboard, could you please bring Elena by if the weather is good,
will.
which it probably won't. But
I definitely will.
But I would love to see.
She
her
will probably be
face.
trying to climb up the
That's
Billboard.
Okay. We'll
yeah,
put her in the basket.
Yeah,
with my
try
pulley.
to climb
We'll
up the Billboard. Try to knock it down. anything to cause a wreck. That's what she's good at right now. That's her favorite thing. And if you tell her no, she might hit you.
Okay.
I'm not
I'll
gonna
be
lie.
up on the Billboard, so she can't reach. She might throw rocks
so you can
at me.
shout no down to her and see what her reaction is.
I'm Uncle Andy. I would never do that. Come on. But thank you for taking the time. Dawn Aversa from Manahawkin and her daughter Elena, who's 2, and just continued health and love and happiness. And if there's anything we could do to help you out, let us know. And this is why we ask you to share your story so people know what this is all about. So it's oceanoflove.org, by the way. You can always give them a call, 732-270-3500. 1709 Route 37 East is where they're located. And if you want to see pictures of Elena, just go to our website. We'll have them at 1057thehawk.com. She is beautiful. I can't wait to see her. And thanks for coming in today.
Absolutely. You're welcome.